Good evening and welcome to Beauty and the Dust, Lenten Reflections on Ordinary Things. I am Pastor Tina Krog and I serve Jerusalem Lutheran Church in Seville. This is the devotion for Maundy, Thursday, which is April 1st, 2021. Today we are talking about how God connects to us through stones. As we engage in this reading, I'd like to share my screen with you, and we'll be reading from the Common English Bible. A reading from Matthew. Listen to another parable. There is a landowner who planted a vineyard. He put a fence around it, dug a wine press in it, and built a tower. Then he rented it to tenant farmers and took a trip. When it was time for harvest, he sent his servants to the tenant farmers to collect his fruit. But the tenant farmers grabbed his servants. They beat some of them, and some of them they killed. Some of them they stoned to death. Again, he sent other servants, more than the first group. They treated them in the same way. Finally, he sent his son to them. They will respect my son, he said. All right. But when the tenant farmers saw the son, they said to each other, "This is the heir. Come on, let's kill him, and we'll have his inheritance." They grabbed him, threw him out of the vineyard, and killed him. "When the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those tenant farmers?" They said, "He will totally destroy those wicked farmers and rent the vineyard to other tenant farmers who will give him the fruit when it's ready." Jesus said to them, "Haven't you read in the scriptures? The stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it's amazing in our eyes. Therefore, I tell you that God's kingdom will be taken away from you and will be given to a people who produce its fruit. Whoever falls on this stone will be crushed, and the stone will crush the person it falls on." Now, when the chief priests and the Pharisees heard the parable, they knew Jesus was talking about them. They were trying to arrest him, but they feared the crowds who thought he was a prophet. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. I live in Canton, and in my neighborhood, my backyard lines up right alongside an alley that people drive up and down because we park on the back of our lots. We don't have driveways, we have these back parking lots. So the back of my lot faces the back of the lot of the person on the other side of the street. There is a garage on the other side of the street. And for some reason, this garage has become the place where the teenagers are hanging out this spring. These teenagers remind me a little bit of the tenant farmers in the parable that we just read. When their parents are around, they're well behaved and they're kind and polite. But as soon as their parents go up into the house, music starts playing really loud. You hear a chorus and loud laughing and joking. And I just kept my eye on it for a little bit. One day I come home and my neighbors whose houses are next to me, not behind me, were meeting outside our house. And so I went out and I learned that the teenagers who've been setting up camp in the back have been teasing the 8-year-old boy who lives right next door. This 8-year-old boy is as sweet as can be. He wants everyone to be his friend. All he wants is for everyone to play together. He invited the teenagers to play in his basketball hoop, which is in the back of the lot on the parking pad. And at first, the teenagers were really kind and glad, and now they have kicked this little boy out of his own backyard and won't let him play basketball with them anymore. Once again, I'm reminded of the tenant farmers. They behave when the vineyard owner is around, but as soon as the vineyard owner leaves, I've made a commitment to help look out for the little boy next door. And my husband said to me, "Oh, that's so nice of you, Tina. That's so great. Takes a village to raise a child, and we would want our neighbors to watch out for us and our kids." And while there's some truth to that, the deeper truth is that at one point I was the kid next door. I was the kid who was made fun of and teased and left out of the group, who wouldn't be invited to play. But when I'm really honest, I can admit I have also been the teenager. When I was a kid, I would sometimes make calls about who was allowed to play and who wasn't. And I would direct the actions of the group. And I would behave better when my parents were watching our play dates than when my parents went inside to get us a snack or a drink of water or to answer the phone. I am both the vineyard workers and owners who are good, and I'm also the tenants who misbehave. When I think of our commitment to Christ on a day like today, on Maundy Thursday, when we come to Jesus knowing that there will be sinners seated around the table, when we come to Jesus knowing that the one who betrays him will be invited to share in that sacred meal and also be invited to experience the washing of the feet, it's important to remember that Jesus comes for those who throw stones and for those who have the stones thrown at them. This is the mystery of our God. I can't explain or justify God's wisdom in choosing to love the worst part of me when I self-select to set aside the best part of me. I can't fathom a love like that. I don't understand how God has forgiven me for all of the times I were the teenagers in the back of my lot, misbehaving. I can't fathom how God faithfully stood by me as God stands by this little boy who just wants someone to play with. God is with me in all of this. And God is with me because of Jesus. This cornerstone that I reject, God is building something new. Tonight, on this holy night, as you gather at the table, as your feet are washed, as you are fed bread and wine, be honest about the fact that you are a tenant that throws stones, that turns your back on what the vineyard owner wants for his property, and you are also the person who needs to be saved. God's love is great. Amen.